Hey, that's right, folks. I'm back. I'm back to join the fold with you guys right here on the hashtag Friday Fun, hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. Coming up, we'll give you the latest on the Bears as they face the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football. We'll have a special preview with our special guest from the city of Houston at the top of next hour. We'll give you our Week 2 NFL picks in baseball. White Sox owner Jerry Reinsdorf says something, but he doesn't say anything at the same time. We'll let you know what that is. And the Cubs take 203 from the Dodgers in La La Land. Do they have a chance to make a last-minute playoff push? That will get you set for Week 3 in college football. That and a whole lot more as the Second City Sports hashtag Football Friday edition starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. My partner, Miss Lakina McGee, will join yours truly in a couple minutes. Sorry I had to step away for some jury duty service. But by the way, since you guys missed me, I am Sid the Kid. I'll introduce you to myself to you again. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are located on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And before we get started, you can always catch Second City Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Not just now, but right now on Roku TV. That's right. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, or your Android, just hit up the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand. Anytime, anywhere, and you know we will provide. And as I said at the top of the show, we'll be providing you with more of the football coverage, both college and pro, and wrapping up with baseball coming up right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago for this fantastic Friday, September 13th of 2024. Yours truly has been gone for the past almost couple of weeks or so due to jury duty service for Cook County and downtown. All I have to say about it is, folks, whenever you have mandatory jury duty service, please take it seriously like I did. It's an honor. It's your duty to one of the few things that you do to help the United States and study our legal system. So whenever you get the jury duty service notice in the mail, I know people want to roll their eyes and trying to duck in and get out of it, but please, folks, take it seriously because it is your duty besides the folks who ultimately make the ultimate sacrifice and serve in our military. So you have jury duty service coming up soon, or you waiting for that letter. I know folks don't want it, but if you have that letter in your hand for jury duty service, please do it. Please take it seriously. Trust me, it'll be the greatest things you ever did to contribute to the good parts of our society. All right, so let's get things started. I want to give my thoughts on the Chicago Bears' victory over the Tennessee Titans of 24-17 last Sunday, since I was not here this past Monday. The Bears' performance was least to be desired, at least on one side of the ball anyway. Of course, Caleb Williams passed for 93 yards. He had 14 out of 29 attempts, for 93 yards. And I know there was a lot of hype that was coming into the season with not just with him, with all the weapons he had around him with Roma Duze, Keenan Allen, and DeAndre Swift at running back. And of course, you had some of the other weapons as well. Velus Jones, who muffed the kickoff return early in that game. The offense was less to be desired, and they got away with it because they were bailed out by the defense, thanks to the block punt in the return for a touchdown by Jonathan Owens, a.k.a. Mr. Small Biles. And, of course, Will Levis decided to throw up a gaffer, throwing a pick six to second-year defensive back Tyree Stevenson, who took it to the house to basically put that game away. And the Bears come out with that victory over the Tennessee Titans, making their record 1-0. And, of course, they're going to face the Houston Texans this Sunday night. We'll have a special preview with our guest, Will Kunkel from Fox 26 in Houston at the top of next hour to give his side of the preview from the Houston Texans side. But back to my thoughts on the game last week. The Bears were lucky they were bailed out by the defense. I thought that you can give a lot of the blame pie to Bears offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. In my opinion, he didn't stick to the run long enough. DeAndre Swift, he didn't give him enough carries, in my opinion, to get him off and running. The Bears' running game was non-existent. And speaking of not being non-existent anymore, I ain't bringing my partner, Miss Lakina, to the fold. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Oh
Good
gosh,
afternoon, young lady. How are you?
who is this man? Yeah, who is this man? I know who this guy is. I've never who is this man? I don't know who that is. I don't know who he is. But yeah, great to have you back, Sid. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was just giving my thoughts on last week's Bears victory over the Tennessee Titans. I think a lot of the blame, as I was just explaining before you hopped on, that there was a lack of a running game. I blame offensive coordinator Shane Waldron for that. Caleb Williams, of course, I didn't expect him to pass for under 100 yards. I thought that he was going to pass for at least 250, maybe 275, and then maybe a couple of touchdowns. But the passing game suffered as well, I thought, because you didn't have a lack of a running game, especially when you're trying to ease the rookie quarterback into your offensive system. You will want to run the football to take the pressure off of him. I did not see that last Sunday. Of course, Roma Dunze only had one catch, but he got hurt. Keenan Allen dropped an easy touchdown. Of course, Cole Kmet and the other tight ends were non-existent because the other weapons were not equally involved in the offense. So, of course, the Bears' defense bailed them out again. And I'll remind you and I'll remind our audience, we saw previous coaches throughout the history of this franchise. You can go back to Mike Ditka, Lovie Smith, to a lesser extent, Mark Trestman. Who was the coach before? Matt Nagy, and to a lesser extent, Dave Wanson, who replaced Mike Ditka prior to the 1993 season. You win your games with defense, you can ride that train for so long, but you need some offense to score points in, and of course, Dick Duran. But if I'm experiencing too many 2001, 2006 to a lesser extent vibes where I see a lack of offense and you just really hoping and praying that your defense bails you out of a very tough situation, it's going to be a problem.
Because remember, it's not the same as it was back then. Because I heard people say, well, it's this is close to the '06 Bears Cardinals. I will say this: that Cardinals team, with Matt Leinart and I think Larry Fitzgerald on that team yet. I don't think
yes, he was.
But and I think there were a couple other guys that were standouts from those teams. But that team was a little bit better than this Titans team. Yes, I know the Titans team. Yeah, they've got a good old line. They got a nice D line, but you got Will Levis as your quarterback, so he basically gave that game away to the Bears. Let's be honest here. And and as I said earlier on the show on Monday, I think you're not gonna be able to get away with this against it. You're gonna be playing against a team who has a competent quarterback, who has you can probably say their D line. We'll talk about that with Will Kunkel over from Fox 26 in a bit, but the D line is not great, but they're okay. You got a good old line. The Texans got a good old line. They got great playmakers, so you're not gonna be able to get away with this against a team like the Texans. So the whole thing with the people say, oh, this is good for the Bears. Like, no, it's not, because the NFL is very different for now than it was back in '06 and '07.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago on the hashtag Football Friday edition. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. As yours surely gives his thoughts for the first time on air in over a week and a half about the Chicago Bears as they won their regular season opener last week against the Tennessee Titans, 24-17 on the lakefront. They are getting ready to do battle against the Houston Texans this coming Sunday at 7:20 p.m. Central Standard Time on NBC down there in Houston, Texas. Lakina, here's the thing about the Chicago Bears. As we say all year, I had to remind myself, even in limited viewing sports consumption over the last week and a half or so. We say this every year, and we'll say it again. The first 2 weeks of an NFL season is overreaction week. If it wasn't locally, it was more nationally about Caleb Williams. Of course, we didn't expect this, but it's a sign of things to come. How long will it take to adapt to the NFL? The Bears always win this way. The Bears are overrated. They're not that good. They'll be exposed sooner rather than later. Folks, how things will play out is how things will play out. We cannot control. The only thing we can do is sit by and watch. Now, am I going to overreact that Caleb Williams is a bust? No. Do I think he'll get better, barring injuries? Yes. Do I think this offense will get better? I hope so. I'm more worried about the offense in general than Caleb Williams, okay? And that goes to your offensive coordinator, okay? On the other side of the ball, the defense, we all know they're a top 5 defense when healthy, okay? But as I said before, and I'll say it again, you cannot do what Matt Nagy did and all the previous coaches that I mentioned. You have to lean on your defense to bail you out of every situation. There will be games that they just won't have, and you have to outscore some opponents. And as I said to a couple of people the last couple of weeks, Lakina, and I'll say it here, even with the talent around Caleb Williams, I expect this Bears team to average at least 27 to 28 points a ball game. I don't think that's too far-fetched to ask for.
No, it's not. But I think, you got to have the people around you. And then the O-line, we'll see if Nate Davis, finally gets a chance to play on Sunday. And it's going to be interesting to see how kind of all this sort of how all the matchups go, because it is all about the matchups, especially with the upstart team like the Texans. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see where all this sort of, plays out and how all this kind of goes, because you're going to be playing on Sunday night. The Bears are 0-7 on Sunday Night Football. And they've been out. I think they've lost by about 10 or 12 points, no 7 straight losses. So hopefully they shouldn't make a fool of themselves on national television. Look, we've seen weird things happen. So look what happened last night in that Bills-Dolphins game. We'll talk about that game later. But it's going to be interesting to see kind of all this sort of plays out and such, all about the matchups and whatnot. You're going to be facing that D-line is going to be facing Joe Mixon, one of the best running backs in recent years. You've got of course, you got Stephon Diggs, you got Tank Dell. So you're not going to be facing a bunch of no names on that Texans squad. This Texans squad is a little bit better, if not a lot better than that Titans squad you face. So this little slow start that you had, you can't do that against the Titans. I mean, against the Texans, you just aren't going to be able to.
Couple of the points I want to bring up before we break for the bottom of the hour. I'm glad you brought up the Bears offensive line. We said this throughout the preseason. I'll say it here. I ain't worried about that left side of the offensive line. Tevin Jenkins, who you mentioned, Nate Davis, who got benched in that game last week against the Titans. Will he get another shot? Well, we'll see what happens with that. And that's why I said that offensive line is important coming to the season, and that's what establishes you, especially on offense when you're trying to establish the run, in particular to take pressure off of Caleb Williams. Number 2, you talk about the Tennessee front line. I know that they're not stacked with a bunch of star names, but they played their butts off last week, in especially that Sweat kid, not our Sweat version of Sweat, their version of Sweat on the defensive line. He played a hell of a game last week. And the Titans defensive line, at least for the first 3 quarters, they were outmanning the Bears offensive line. And as you mentioned with the Titans, don't forget about Will Anderson. I believe he's in his 2nd year out of Alabama. And if he's left up on that left side of that Bears offensive line, it's going to be a long night.
We'll talk more about that with Will coming up at the top of the hour. But we're going to take a really quick break. Of course, we're going to talk some baseball and some college football, too. I know we still has some thoughts from the last week and a half on both, because we got some good matches coming up in week 3 of the college football season. And things are kind of getting a little bit interesting in some of the divisional races, too. Only got about, 2 weeks left in the season. So I know Sid's good. It's catch-up time with Sid there with all this. So we'll do all that coming up next. Second City Sports on Chicago. We go to the Diamond and the Gridiron on the college side. Coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakima McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
And follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call the Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we dive into college football week free previews, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, but first let's go into to baseball really quick and to kind of keep it simple here. Unfortunately, the Cubs lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. And they're still about 5 games back of the wild card. And unfortunately, I guess the games are kind of getting less and less. And they play the Rockies, so that should end Coors Field, so that should help them a little bit starting tonight. But it's kind of like one of those things where you're just like, you're in coulda, woulda, shoulda mode. And I guess you just got to take care of the teams in your schedule and just hope for the best at this point.
Yeah, the Cubs did show up and show out earlier this weekend. La La Land against the Dodgers, taking 2 out of 3. It should have been a sweep, but that third game got away from them thanks to the bad bullpen. But Pete Crow Armstrong, as we talked about in the last few weeks, it looks like he's starting to come to his own as a complete player. We know how he is on a base pass. We know how he is in the outfield. He had 3 great defensive catches in last Tuesday night's win against the Dodgers, but you started to see him become more disciplined at the player. Hopefully he works on that during the offseason. But as you said, Lakina, Colorado on paper they're easy. The Cubs should be able to sweep, but with the injury to Justin Steele, he's out of the rotation right now. That's definitely going to be tough. Remember last year, Lakina, the Cubs were in a similar situation, even though they had a few more wins than a year ago. They struggled against Colorado, Arizona, some of those lesser 500 teams, and that's why they found themselves home for the playoffs with one game out. But I think they should be able to take care of business this weekend. I think you should demand the sweep of this team because the Rockies are terrible. But if you take another 2 out of 3 again, you're really on life support at this point, which I think they are anyway. But you really decrease your chances if you just take 2 out of 3. This must be a sweep this weekend.
Yeah, you got 15 games left, and 15 or 16 games left. And it's kind of like time. It's sort of like put up or shut up time if you're the Cubs. So 5 games back. We'll see what happens. But it's gonna be it could be a trap series. I mean, the Rockets have given teams all they could handle. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, going the White Sox, we'll keep it short and sweet. I mean, they got swept by the Guardians. And they faced Oakland starting tonight, and it's Well, what wins the season over with? I guess you got 15 games left, folks. So it's gonna get a little bit interesting to see what happens with the White Sox. But it's you only got 15 more games left, so yay.
Garrett Crochet will take the bump tonight for the Sox. Chris Flexen tomorrow. Boo. And MIA on Sunday. Lakina, I think they're 6 wins away from tying the modern day record, 7 away of breaking it, if my math is correct. And I know that Jerry Reinsdorf came out the other day and he said something, but he really didn't say anything. I'll just paraphrase real quick. I'm embarrassed. I'm saddened by what happened this season. I have more to say after the season. Okay, wake me up when something is impactful and you want to improve this team on the up and up, okay? I'm just saying.
And also too, of course, you're not going to be able, if you're hoping to get like Terry Francona out of retirement and a few other kind of like the top names that are out there, you're not going to be able to do that because you can't guarantee that you're going to be in contention for the next 3 years. I mean, we're talking about 4 or 5 years before the Sox team, is in contention for anything. You're not going to want to. Francona's not going to waste his years. So these guys are kind of at the peak of where they at right now in their profession. They're not going to want to waste their time. So. Whatever. I just kind of roll my eyes. It just kind of kept them moving with that one. So let's go to like the good baseball side of things real quick. The Yankees, they won 2 out of 3 against the Royals. They did win their opener against the Red Sox, so now they're up 2 against Baltimore. I don't want to say they're pulling away from Baltimore, but with their struggles lately. But yeah, seems like all the signs are kind of hitting. Aaron Judge has looked really good. Soto's been solid too. The pitching's have actually been okay. Garrett Cole had a nice showing in his last outing. So it looks like the Yankees are kind of like starting to take control of the AL East.
The only thing I worry about the Yankees, besides health, is their bullpen. I know Clayton Holmes pitched in the 7th inning. I think it was Wednesday's game against Kansas City. And so Aaron Boone, I should say, is probably looking for a new closer. It's not a good time to be looking for a closer. But the Yankees have bullpen issues. But as we said before all year, we'll say it again. Giancarlo Stanton, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, all those 3 guys are healthy. That's the best trio in Major League Baseball in terms of power and average. So you mentioned the Yankees are taking care of business offensively, and it looks like they may win the AL East. I didn't think I would say that at the start of the year because I had Baltimore win that division, but Baltimore has been struggling since the All-Star break, and their starting pitcher has really been the tank. I'm really starting to worry about that starting staff.
Yeah, they won. They lost 2 out of 3, I should say, to Boston. So you gotta wonder, like, okay, hopefully we can get it, get it back going here because you don't want to be lipping and dragging yourself going into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with that. Now in the Central, the Guardians put a little bit of distance between themselves and both the Royals and the Twins. Sweeping the White Sox helps a little bit. They did lose their opener against Tampa Bay yesterday, but it looks like the Guardians are going to have control of that AL Central.
Yeah, we mentioned their offense with Jose Ramirez, Andres Jimenez, their second baseman, both the Naylor brothers, Josh and Bo, having an impact in that lineup. But their starting pitching, they really pieced it together with all the injuries we mentioned at the early start of the season. They really pieced it together to have a respectable starting staff. But this team is going to be carried by the offense through the playoffs. We'll see what happens with Cleveland. I still had them winning this division. I think they're still going to hang on to do it. Minnesota, I don't know. I don't know if they'll have. They may have enough just to secure that third wild card spot. But Kansas City is on their heels, and look out for the Detroit Tigers. They're trying to make a late season run. They failed to sweep the Rockies yesterday, but they still have an outside shot. But I still find it hard to believe that we'll get three AL Central Division teams into the playoffs, but it looks like it may end up happening now, especially what's happening now in the AL West, especially with your Mariners.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I mean, Detroit's only 3.5 back of the that last wild card spot. So yeah, they could very well they're kind of sort of sneaking up on folks. So I think you're fine with that if you're the Tigers. So we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, Houston, they did lose 2 out of 3 to Oakland. Unfortunately, the Mariners couldn't take advantage of it. So it looks like Houston, okay, may have control of the AL West, but we'll see. I think they still have to play each other. So yeah, we'll kind of see what happens. But I think the Houston's got that division on lock. Now going to the National League East, the Phillies are starting to get back on track. They had a little bit of got a little bit of a bump a couple of weeks ago, but it looks like they're starting to get back on track. They've won 3 in a row. They're now 8 up on the Mets, and yeah, it looks like their pitching's been really solid. But it's been their hitting that's really been the driving force for the Phillies.
Yeah, they had a little beanball war, and that's excuse me. They had a beanball war in one of those games against Tampa this past week. Nick Castellanos, I don't know why the Cubs let him go a couple years ago, but that's a whole nother show. But he was the one that got beaten, and folks were yelling and forth back at each other, but nothing went further after that. But the Phillies have a dynamic offense, as we mentioned: Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, and of course Nick Castellanos. That's a formal lineup, but their starting pitching is really starting to turn it around. And their bullpen is solid too. Now, the New York Mets, they struggled a little bit early this week, but they did win the series in Toronto, and they got a big series. We'll let you know about that coming up in just a bit. And of course, the Atlanta Braves, they still chugging along with all the injuries, with all the setbacks and the inconsistencies with their offense. They're still chugging along, but I believe it's going to be between them and the New York Mets for that third wild card spot. I know we talk about Arizona. I know we talk about San Diego, who they had a little bumps in the road earlier this week. But I think it's going to come down to Atlanta and the Mets. So who's going to get that wild card spot representing the NL East? Because I think Philadelphia has that division wrapped up.
Milwaukee also has their NL Central wrapped up, so we can skip that. But going to the West, I know the Dodgers, they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Cubs, but I think this is actually not a bad thing for the Dodgers because of the fact that usually they already have the division lined up, and they just drag it along for the next couple of weeks. So I think the fact that they have to put a little bit of fight into playing meaningful baseball before they get into the playoffs, this can only help them become more battle tested. So I think this actually helps them. So yeah, we'll see. They actually do play Atlanta. We'll talk. Yeah, they do play Atlanta starting tonight, so that could be a big series, kind of put a little bit of distance between themselves and the D-bats and the Padres. So I think this could actually end up being a good thing for the Dodgers.
And let's not forget the Dodgers trying to search for starting pitching, healthy bodies for starting pitching. Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitched on Tuesday night against the Chicago Cubs. He did look good, 8 strikeouts through 4 innings. Remember, he missed the last couple months due to fatigue in his shoulder. We'll see what happens if he's healthy and ready to go for the playoffs. Don't forget, you still have Clayton Kershaw there. He came back after the All-Star break. Gavin Stone's hurt right now. Jack Flaherty, who they acquired via trade at the trade deadline, he's been their savior in the starting rotation. So we'll see if he can keep up his end of the bargain up. And they got to work out issues with the bullpen. I had concerns about their bullpen early in the year. I know they picked up Michael Kopech from the White Sox at the trade deadline, but they got to get the starting pitching, healthy bodies in order, and they got to get the bullpen in order as well.
Yeah, Kopech did have a kind of a bad outing on Tuesday, but the good news is he has been able to been good overall. It's probably one of the worst things he's done since joining the Dodgers, so that should definitely Maybe a little bit of bump in the road there. They do need the middle relief is really going to be the issue for the Dodgers. If they can't get that going, they might be facing another early exit. So we'll see what happens there. Now let's go into the schedule for this weekend. Baltimore and Detroit. Who thought that would be a playoff chase matchup earlier this year? Of course, Detroit's right there in the AL wild card race, only 3.5 back. Of course, Baltimore trying to hang on, on the wild card spots to try to catch up to the Yankees. Kansas City and Pittsburgh. You got the Mets and Phillies. That should be a fun one. Phillies hoping to put some between themselves and the Mets. The Marlins and the Nationals.
Could be elimination series for the Mets.
Probably Nationals hosting the Marlins. Boston and New York. That's going to be their first game on Apple TV Plus. So goody. St. Louis and Toronto. Toronto playing spoiler for some of these playoff teams. So if you're St. Louis is not a playoff team, obviously, but I'm just saying. But Tampa Bay and Cleveland. Cleveland hoping to wrap that division, and the Dodgers and Atlanta, as I talked about earlier. The first game of that series will be on Apple TV Plus at 6:30 tonight.
The rest of your schedule for this weekend in Major League Baseball: Cincinnati visits Minnesota. As Lakina mentioned at the top of the segment, the Cubs will visit the Rockies. Houston will take on the LA Angels. Milwaukee will visit Arizona in an important series there. For those of you scoring at home, the magic number for the Brewers to clinch the NL Central stands at 7. And the Texas Rangers will visit Lakina Seattle Mariners. So you can watch the first game tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on MLB Network. And that'll be the season debut of Texas Rangers pitcher Jacob deGrom. And you'll have the San Diego Padres and the San Diego Padres travel to San Francisco to take on the Giants. Remember, folks, no Fox Saturday baseball tomorrow because of college football coverage.
Also to the Roku TV matchup for Sunday at noon. You got the Reds and the Twins. Twins hoping to stay within striking distance of the AL Central. Also, your Sunday night game of the week, you've got on ESPN at 6 on Sunday. You got the Dodgers and the Braves. And that's your schedule for this weekend in MLB.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here, hanging out here with you as we now transition to previewing the key matchups this week for college football in NCAA. Lakina will start off locally first, of course, at 11 o'clock a.m. tomorrow on Peacock. Central Michigan checking in at 1-1. They'll take on the Illinois Fighting Illini. There are 2-0. Who would have thought that the Fighting Illini will be 2-0 to start the year? But they picked up a big upset at home last week against Kansas.
Yeah, hopefully this won't be a letdown game for them because that usually could happen if you have a big matchup. I think Brett Bielema will have his guys ready, and that's a tough look. Every MAC team is tough, so I think this is not going to be any exception. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they can get it. They can kind of avoid that letdown game there for Illinois. Now going into the big Fox, big noon Saturday game on Fox. Tonight's matchup should be a good one. We got Arizona and Kansas State on Fox at 7 o'clock. That should be a fun one between those two squads. Both are undefeated. Now, speaking of Kansas, they do host UNLV. That should be a bounce back game for them. That's going to be at 6 o'clock on ESPN tonight. Speaking of the big news Saturday game, we got Alabama and Wisconsin at 11 a.m. This should be interesting because Alabama, that South Florida game, I said it on Monday, that they didn't look really good. Let's be honest. I mean, we'll see how Luke Fickell will have his guys. Cam Reynolds going to be rocking, so that should be a good matchup between Bama and Wisconsin. I don't know if Wisconsin can pull off the upset, but you never know. We've seen weirder things happen, so we'll see what happens there. On ESPN 2 at the same time, we got number 13 Oklahoma State at Tulsa, so that should be a entertaining game right there. State going on the road. Nice win against Arkansas. LSU and South Carolina on ABC. Game day is going to be there for the first time in about 10 years. Shane Beaver got his guys going, and LSU. I mean, we'll see what happened a couple weeks ago against USC. So we'll see if they can. We'll see if they can cast about the upset.
Brian Kelly, I'll put the pressure on him. They need to win this game. I know they're 6.5-point favorites on the road, but the way they came out in that first game of the year against USC, not good. They did bounce back last week to get their first victory of the year, but they need to show up big against South Carolina on the road. This will be a huge test for them as they go back out on the road again.
William Bryce Stadium is going to be rocking down there in Columbia, so that should be fun there. Michigan, they host Arkansas State. They should be
Where's the
okay.
Big Blue?
Yeah, I mean, look, Texas, Texas. Well, and the good news is Jerome Moore actually does now have a contract and it's signed, so don't have to worry about that part. But yeah, Michigan should be able to nice little bounce back game for them against Arkansas State. So ironic, they're also the Gamecocks, so we'll see what happens there. Florida State hoping to bounce back against Memphis. Actually, Mike Norvell's old squad, so that should be an interesting one on ESPN at 11. NC State. Got their butts kicked by Tennessee. We'll see if they can bounce back against La Tech. FS1, you got the Texas, Ballot Texas, you got North Texas, the Fighting Lady Rahimis, as we call them here, in Texas Tech on FS1. A good matchup here, the ACC and the Big 12. You got Boston College against the Fighting Mike Burma, as we call them in this program, Missouri. That's going to be on 11:45 on the SEC Network.
Now to the afternoon games, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Fox. The battle of the state of Oregon as the number 9 ranked Oregon Ducks travel to Register Stadium in Corvallis, Oregon to battle the 2-0 Oregon State Beavers. Oregon is 16-point favorites. At 2:30 p.m. on the ACC Network, number 10, the University of Miami, 2-0. They'll take on Ball State. They're checking at 1-0 on the year. Miami, a 36.5-point favorite.
Yeah, they should be able to take care of Ball State down there in Miami. Going back to that Civil War matchup, I'm glad we still got that, even though they're no longer in the same conference. But the Oregon State, I would take the under because, unfortunately, we've seen Oregon the first couple of weeks. They literally had to go down to the wire against Boise State. Oregon State's got one of the best defenses in the country. This could be a trap game from Dan Lemming and that squad. They played each other very close, so I don't know. That 16.5 is a little bit too big in my opinion, but we'll see there. Tulane, they were right there to upset win against Kansas State, and that they be able to pull it out. So they'll try to do it again against Oklahoma at 2:30 on ESPN. Notre Dame, hoping to bounce back from the upset against Northern Illinois. They face Purdue on CBS and Paramount Plus, also at 2:30.
Congratulations. This is the first time I said it publicly. Congratulations to NIU for going in and upset the Fighting Irish last week. I know our girl Christine, the Queen Manica, was very upset, but your boy was very happy last week.
Yeah, I think a lot of Notre Dame fans, Notre Dame haters, that's like myself was as well. It's good for Thomas hacking that program. But yeah, look, we'll see if Notre Dame can bounce back against Purdue. Texas A&M and Florida. Early SEC matchup on ABC. That's a 2:30 matchup there. Minnesota, I know your Minnesota Golden Gophers have not had a good last couple of weeks. Well, not a good opener, but hoping to bounce back against Nevada. You got the Apple Cup on Peacock, 2:30. You got Washington and Washington State. That should be a fun one as usual.
Washington is a 5.5-point favorite. At 2:30 p.m. on ESPN2, West Virginia 1-1. They'll face Pittsburgh, who's they're checking in at 2-0 on the year. And at 3:30 on the CBS Sports Network, number 12 Utah will travel to Utah State. Utah's 2-0. Utah State is 1-1.
Yeah, Cam Rise unfortunately will not play in that game, but they should be able to. They should be okay. I'm talking about Utah. But yeah, well, the Utah State squad, we won't go into the people they've been through, but we'll see what happens there. No, this is not a basketball matchup, folks. This is not UConn and Duke. This is not basketball. That'll be on ACC Extra. North Carolina and North Carolina Central going to the nightcap here. Let me see if I could go down to some of the night games. You got Texas and UTSA, the Roadrunners, beep beep on ESPN at 6. Should be
at 6:30. Yeah, at 6:30 on ABC and ESPN Plus, number 1 Georgia will travel to Kroger Field to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Georgia 2-0, Kentucky at 1-1. At the same time on CBS, Colorado, who got embarrassed last week at Nebraska, they'll take on their state rival to Colorado State. Remember last year, Lakina, Deion Sanders started beef with their head coach, almost came up to bite him in the butt. As of right now, I didn't hear anything from him this week, so maybe that's a good thing as Colorado needs to get back on track. Both teams checking in at 1-1.
the Rams really feel like they let that one slip away last year. So we'll see if they can. I'm sure they're going to be ready for their squad there. Nebraska back in the top 25. They face Northern Iowa, I should say. Indiana, UCLA. This is a Big Ten matchup. Go figure. 6:30 on NBC and also streaming on Peacock. Got Air Force and Baylor. That's going to be on FS1. Tennessee and Kent State. That's on SEC Network as well. Also to Northwest, hopefully from the bounce back from that bad loss against Duke. They face Eastern Illinois. That's going to be on the Big Ten Network. And as we wrap things up here, BYU and Wyoming, that's going to be on the CBS Sports Network. San Diego State and Cal on ESPN at 9:30. And True TV and on Max, streaming on Max, you got Fresno State hosting New Mexico State. And Maryland and Virginia.
For week.
One more. Maryland and Virginia. That's the whole ACC matchup. That's going to be on the ACC Network nightcap as well.
All right. And that's your week 3 matchups in the world of college football. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues with our special guest, Will Kunkel from Fox 26 in Houston. He'll preview the Bears and Titans Sunday night matchup following these messages. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean,
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to the second hour of Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I ain't Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kenny McGee on the Twitter, X, and here's again, IG.
We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we preview the Sunday night contest between the Bears and the Texans with our next guest, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakina will get the up on the screen for you, and you can check us out not now, but right now, live in the living color on Roku TV.
You can watch him if you're in Houston. Watch him on Fox 26. Also, he has his own podcast, so we got a lot to do. Not to talk with him about. Not much time to do it, so we're gonna get right to it. We're gonna, the one and only Mr. Will Kunkel from Fox 26. Hey, Will, how are you?
Yeah,
I'm good. Shout out to the intro. I appreciate that, guys. And you guys got me out of a hole of golf where I've lost enough money for the day, so I appreciate that.
Well, I hope you're in a good mood. So, yeah, let's talk about this. It should be a good matchup on Sunday night, but the Texans kind of came out of nowhere last year and sort of, I don't want to say surprised a lot of people, but kind of, maybe, kind of a little bit of surprise. So what do you think the synopsis are for this season coming up? Because they know that they're now the hunted now, no longer the hunters.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly it, right? Like last year they surprised people. This year they're not surprising anybody. They got 6 primetime games. They had 0 last year. This is their first Sunday night football game since 2019 when they beat the Patriots. So they're on everybody's radar. The expectations are high, and I think they're reasonable. I think I have them personally in that kind of that second tier in the NFL. The first tier, the 49ers, Ravens, Chiefs, and then right below them are the Texans, who are in this conversation and win the whole dang thing.
Last year, even though C.J. Stroud had a very good rookie year, you guys were minus a running game. Of course, this year you guys picked up Joe Mixon. I know it's only just one game, but he came out of the blocks last week, running for over 100 yards against a young, hungry Indianapolis Colts defense. What do you expect out of him in week 2 as they face a tougher Chicago Bears defense?
So it's one of those things where the Bears defense is going to have to pick their poison. Like, where are they stacking the box? Are they going to double one of the 3 wide receivers? It looks like. I'm not sure if Dalton Schultz practiced today. So he hasn't practiced the last 2 days. So if he doesn't go, that at least takes away one of the weapons for the Texans. But that's one of those things where it depends what the defense does. If they stack the box, then look out for some of the weapons on the outside. But having said that, there were 8-man boxes where Joe Mixon and the offensive line were creating lanes to run. They did 159 against that Colts defense with a lot of stacked boxes. I expect, his over-under line is at 18 carries. I expect him to go over that. I just don't see him not being able to run the ball successfully for like less than 18 times. And they want to establish that run, because then that gives Bobby Sloak and this offense the ability to do kind of, have that dual-faceted offense. So I think you want to establish it where they couldn't last year. So they didn't even try at times.
Now, of course, we know Stephon Diggs. Of course, you guys got him in a trade from Buffalo. How has he looked so far, and do you think he'll be even? He's probably going to be like a main target for a lot of the Bears secondary coming up on Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, he looks good, right? He had 6 catches, which is what I liked the most. The 2 touchdowns were great. They were plays that were called for him near the end zone, so they were plays that kind of just worked. But I liked the 6 receptions. He only had 33 yards. Don't care about that. He's really just trying to work on his trust with CJ. For instance, after the game, he thought he was open at one point over the middle of the field. He didn't really say anything about it to CJ. He was like, all right, I'll trust you. And I think he went back and realized that there could have been like a hospital ball type of situation there if CJ decided to throw the ball. So they're just working on that trust, which is big for Diggs. Like, Diggs needs a quarterback that he trusts, because we've seen him, I don't want to say be a problem, because we don't really know about those conversations and what's actually happening, but at least a perceived issue. So if he trusts his quarterback, then he'll tend to he'll lean on him versus his own understanding at the time.
Talk about your other 2 young star wide receivers, and Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Of course, Tank Dell had a very good rookie year last year before he had an injury that cut his season short. Of course, Nico Collins, we saw flashes from him last year. Of course, he picked up that big 3rd down catch to preserve the victory last week against Indianapolis. Talk about those 2 young star wide receivers. Looks like they're going to benefit from having Stephon Diggs on their team.
Not only that, but Joe. So that opens up, obviously, the passing game that I was talking about. But Nico and CJ have that trust. Like, that 3rd down play, that's what time it is. That's when you know who you trust. Like, you're going to be at this spot. That's a spot throw that CJ made. And Nico was there, knee down, game over type of deal. And Tank's more explosive. Nico can do everything, though. A lot of people right now are comparing him to Andre Johnson. He's not Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson's a Hall of Famer, but it's a big compliment to even be in that type of conversation. He can go down the field. He can make the big body catches. He can run all the routes in the route tree, and he makes all the big plays when it matters most. And for him to do that after the first 2 years were basically a crapshoot for him. Now, obviously, quarterback plays a role in that is huge. So CJ's leadership, I think, has played a huge role in these guys trusting him and him trusting them and them all working together because there are some mouths to be fed on this offense.
We're chatting with Fox 26's Will Kunkel here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, Lakeem McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Let's talk about the defense for a second, Will, because that defense is on its way. It's still, you got like a lot of young guys. Of course, you got Will Anderson Jr., Mario Edwards Jr., Derek Stingley Jr. on the secondary. So we know that, and of course, Neil Hunter as well. Of course, we are a fan that we know, a name we know here in Chicago. He played with the Vikings for years. D'Amico Ryans, of course, we know he's a defensive guy. He's a former D lineman. What do you think he needs to do to kind of get that defense back to right at the same level as the offense?
Yeah, so I think that's, not every team in the NFL is perfect due to the salary cap. So you're going to have your holes. The fact that they're missing Christian Harris right now is an issue. He's out for the first 4 weeks on the IR. But the big names that you mentioned are big names. Like those guys are game changers, not just big, they have the ability to make some big plays. They have the ability to change an entire game and flip it. So I think that's where they're resting right now. Danico Autry suspended for the first 4 games as well, or is it 6 with the PED situation? I can't remember. Nonetheless, a big body up the middle that they didn't seem to be missing against the Colts. So the defense has some holes, but it's still a pretty good defense, and they have the ability to make plays when it matters. So I'm interested to see how they do defensively against Caleb Williams, because that dude can make plays on his legs. At the same time, I think this is going to be the best defense, albeit 2 games, that he's seen so far.
Yeah, my partner Lakina mentioned the big names on the defensive line for the Texans with Will Anderson and Mario Edwards Jr. Who else should Bears fans look for to? Who else on the defense for the Texans that Bears fans should be watching for on Sunday?
Kamar Lassiter, the rookie out of Georgia. He came in, maybe he was going to play the inside. I mean, he came out and just said, no, I'm cornerback too. Like, I'm CB2, and that's what time it is. Like, the dude was absolutely awesome throughout training camp, but I wasn't a believer, and I haven't bought in entirely quite yet because he has only gotten 1 game under his belt. But that's a name to look for, especially because you guys have a ton of weapons on the offensive side. Now, we don't know if Aduze's going to play or Keenan Allen. Maybe you guys know, but he's a big weapon for a team like the Bears because you guys have so many weapons. Because Sting is going to be near DJ as often as possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know we only got a couple more minutes with you, so I want to try to talk about your podcast real quick. Kicking it with Kunkel. Tell everyone listening and watching about it.
Man, first of all, I appreciate you letting me plug this. It's really fun. So I did an interview with Ken Houston, arguably the greatest strong safety in the history of the game the other day. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. He's in the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And now he's in the Houston Hall of Fame. Like, that interview was great. I just sat down with Andrew Johnson, who is Toro, the Texans mascot. And he's got some crazy stories, as you could probably imagine, of things that he's seen. And the fact that he had to come home at one point as a kid and tell his parents that he was for real wanting to be a mascot in his life. And now has turned it into a lucrative career. But I've also had Lance McCullers on. I've had some really good guests. And we talk about life and some of the struggles and their faith in Christ and things that they go through. It's not just about sports. It's a deep conversation with a lot of these guys that they really enjoy kind of getting away for the game a little bit.
All right. Last moment or two with Will Kunkel from Fox 26 in Houston, right here. He's hanging out here with us here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. Will, let's go over to baseball. Of course, the Houston Astros struggle with injuries and lack of offense for the first couple months of the year. It looks like now they're going to win the AL West. Give us your take on what has been their big turnaround, and if this team is healthy going into the playoffs, do you see them beating a team like the Yankees or a Baltimore or Cleveland?
So there's a phrase right now kind of going around that the Astros are inevitable, right? So they're just going to be there when you don't want them to be there, especially after starting so slowly. Like the best players were so bad to start the year. Like Bregman was terrible. They didn't have a first baseman. Jose Abreu is now unemployed. And then those guys turned it around. Bregman has had some great months that he's strung together, and the pitching really stepped up. Now the question is, can Spencer Arrighetti, can Hunter Brown, can they do it in the playoffs? They've never pitched these kind of innings. Ronel Blanco as well. Justin Verlander, frankly, has sucked since he's come back from injury. So you don't want to leave him off the postseason roster. But like, if he continues to be BP, then you can't put him out there. So if he can flip it around in these rehab starts that he's doing at the major league level, it's a game changer for this team. It makes anything possible.
Last question for me, Will. I know we're a little bit, ways from college hoops, but where do you think the chances are that maybe Houston can finally get over the hump and perhaps, go back to the Final Four and even perhaps maybe finally win that elusive national championship?
Like with something like with March Madness, the biggest compliment is that you're in the conversation every year. So I'm never going to put money on or say that any team can win it, because it's so damn hard to win. There's only a handful of coaches that are active right now that have a national championship. So they're going to be in that conversation. They're going to be there. Like, they could have won it last year, but Jamal Shead got hurt, and that was the end of it. You just don't know how that's going to play out. So the Cougs are going to be in it. They're going to be around. They won the Big 12 in their first year. So, like, they're good. It's a matter of, can you stay healthy, play your best basketball, and get some of the breaks when it matters most.
That's it.
All right, this has been Fox 26's in Houston's Will Kunkel. You can follow him on Twitter, X at Will Kunkel Fox. Once again, at Will Kunkel Fox. Will, stay healthy, stay safe, enjoy the game on Sunday, and don't get too tired walking out on that golf course.
Back in the cart, time to have a beer. Thanks, guys, for having me. Appreciate you.
All right, enjoy, stay safe, and we'll definitely have you back on. Hopefully, have a little more time to talk more Houston sports.
Hey, anything for you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks, Will.
All right, thank you.
All right, that was Will Kunkel from Fox 26 here on Second City Sports on Chicago. I know he was in the middle of his golf game. I'm glad he was able to talk to us for a few minutes to preview this game. We talked a little bit Houston sports as well. Now, Sid, I'm with him on the defensive side. That if you get DeAndre Swift, if you can get hopefully DJ Moore is okay, and hopefully Warren Medusa, because we haven't really heard anything about Adunze, whether or not he's going to play. We probably won't know about that until after we get off. But that whole thing with Houston and the Texans, I think that's probably the one sort of thing that might be a little bit of a blimp, if they want to say about the team, is the fact that D line and that secondary. So if Caleb Williams can, if their old line, the Bears have always their old line, but I'm interested to see how that kind of plays out with that D line versus the O line, because that D line, you still got to deal with Will Anderson. You got to think he's probably get double teamed a lot. So the other guys on that D line is going to have to step up for the Texans. So they can make some inroads there if they can, if they can control him. So that's going to be the thing here for me, especially with this matchup coming up.
And that's why I started up by saying at the top of the show, from what happened last week with the Tennessee Titans, the defensive line dominating the Bears offensive line. The Bears offensive line, whoever's in there, whether it's Nate Davis or not, they got to establish the run early. Let Houston know that they're not going to be bullied around. They got to set the tempo, set the tone, run the football, Shane Waldron. Hopefully he's been working on this all week at Hallis Hall. Give DeAndre Swift the touches, and then you mix in Khalil Herbert and whoever else wants to play running back, Velus Jones, if he gets any touches this week at running back. He should never be the kickoff returner again. Let me just say that right now. He should not be the kickoff returner ever again. He lost his chance. DeAndre Carter, who had a big return in that comeback last week against Tennessee, he's your kickoff returner, period, end of story. Now back to the running game. The Bears need to establish the run, set the tempo, set the tone, and let the Houston Texans defensive linemen know, like, this is going to be a long night. And how many times, if they're going to double team Will Anderson or not, you got to let them know it's going to be a dogfight. Take the pressure off of Caleb Williams. I want to see Caleb Williams be more involved in the rollout. You saw a little bit of that in the preseason. The tight ends were non-existent last week. So I think this is going to be whether Rome Medusa and or Keelan Allen will play on Sunday. I think this is a game for the tight ends to be involved way more than they were last week. And Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, or whoever decides to play that third tight end slot, I think this is going to be the game for them, because I think you can attack the linebacker core of the Texans a little bit. So as long as they can be patient and establish the run, I think this will be a big game for the tight ends.
And we'll see if Schultz here. I didn't see anything about Schultz practicing. I'm sure we'll get updates on that coming up. But yeah, I think you have a really solid tight end in Cole Kmet, who actually you just paid a whole lot of money to. Use him, please. Use him. Use him. Duh. Hello. Use him. I mean, it's sort of like one of those things where look. I mean, he's just, yeah. I'm sure he's probably like, well, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? Like, come on, this is absurd. So, look, hopefully they'll use Komet more or whoever is out there. But this is gonna be an intriguing matchup because I think the Bears are kind of keep it close. Like I said, I'm not gonna tell you guys who we're picking yet, but next time we're doing that. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see kind of like who can set the tone early. The Bears set the tone with their run game and with their offense. I think they can do that. Now, unfortunately with CJ, we didn't get a chance to talk about CJ Stroud a lot with Will, but we'll see if he can kind of, because the Colts, the reason why that Colts game with the Texans was close was because Anthony Richardson, had a couple of long deep passes. That's why the game was as close as it was. But hopefully they can clean some of that stuff up on defense. And if you're the Bears, you can't afford to have that slow start against the Texans, against the Titans, against the Texans. You can't, because they won't make you pay.
Yeah, and you cannot avoid any. Hopefully, you're gonna avoid any silly turnovers, especially for Caleb Williams. Even though he didn't turn the ball over last week, even though he got sacked a lot. But I'm glad you set this up. I want to go into the preview the Houston Texans offense against the Bears defense, and I know we were time limited with Will, but I want to talk about this matchup. We mentioned Stephon Diggs at the top of the segment with Will. I want to see him and Jalen Johnson go at it because Jalen Johnson, yes, he got paid during the offseason and deservedly so. He's still playing with the chip on his shoulder that he wasn't selected as one of the top players in the NFL, according to NFL Network, and voted on by the players. Him and Stephon Diggs, that's going to be, in my opinion, the matchup of the ball game.
Yeah, that's really going to be the thing. There might be some pushing and shoving. He might get double teamed. Talk about Diggs is, but again, that might leave the door open for a Tank Dell or a Nico Collins or somebody like that. And even if not Schultz, I mean, if he doesn't play, but they got Reverend Jordan, who's actually a pretty solid tight end himself. So yeah, you want to double team Diggs, that's fine, but you're running the risk of leaving the other guys open too, so they can make it pay there. So that's going to be the thing here. That should be a good matchup too. We'll see. Maybe they'll go back and forth with DJ Moore. We'll see if we'll see Stingley Jr. with DJ Moore and such. So it's going to be interesting. Like, and Jimmy Ward as well. We forgot about Jimmy Ward. He's a veteran, has been around for a minute. So it could be interesting, like kind of like how setting the tone with both of these guys early on. I think this should be a good matchup. I think.
And also, too, a couple more matchups to dig in here before we go to the rest of the league. Tyreek Stevenson, I'm sure he'll get matched up against Nico Collins, at least to start off the game, I assume. I'm sure, and then switch off to Tank Dell. Whoever's having a hot hand, I'm sure he'll probably get a mixture of both those guys. But I want to see how that matchup goes with Tyreek Stevenson matching up with those two young guys. And number two, who's going to pick up the other slack, because we talked about Will Anderson being double teamed from the Bears offensive line. I'm sure Montez Sweat is going to get double teamed at times from the defensive side for the Bears. Who's going to be that other guy who's going to put pressure on CJ Stroud? Is it Austin Booker, Javon Dexter? Who's going to be Daniel Hardy? Who's going to be the other guy on the flip side to help out Montez Sweat? Because if that happens, I expect to see some pressure on CJ Stroud on Sunday.
Going to be interesting to see how that goes there. But yeah, we'll do our picks for this game coming up. But since we still got a few more minutes left, this is Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakeem McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Let's recap that Bills-Dolphins matchup. And perhaps, of course, the Bills pulled it out against the Dolphins. They go to 2-0. And I think some would say that was a little bit of a surprise because, 31-10. And unfortunately, Tua suffered another concussion. You saw that great moment with him and Coach Mike McDaniel as he went off the field. It looks like I think we're going to get a return of Ryan Tannehill down there in South Beach. Nothing's official yet, but you got to think that's going to happen too. Now, talk about the game itself first. I mean, the Bills, I guess we might have underestimated the Bills because I don't have them winning that division. So, yeah, but look, I mean, to their credit, I mean, look, Josh Allen, you thought that maybe they're going to take a step back with all the, with having to trade away Diggs and a few other guys as well. But look, Josh Allen threw for 139 yards and 1 TD, but it was really their run game. James Cook, if you had James Cook in your fantasy league, you probably had a nice little start to your to week 2. 78 yards and 2 TDs. And it was really the defense for the for the Bills that kind of kept the Dolphins' offense at bay. So, what do you think about that matchup yesterday?
Yeah, I turned it off in the fourth quarter, which you knew that game was getting away. But Tua Tagovailoa, before he got injured, he wasn't playing well anyway. I know Tyreek Hill. We know we will not get into what happened last week. It's over and done with. We'll leave it there. Google is your friend, as Lakina would say. But I know he had a couple of catches last night. I'm talking about Tyreek Hill. He was trying to get his teammates fired up, but at that point, Tua, obviously before he got injured, he lost it. He threw 3 picks. But you mentioned, Lakina, for Buffalo, it was their defense that picked it up. I know they had a pick 6 toward the end of that first half last night. You mentioned James Cook, great job by him. 3 touchdowns in the first half, 2 of them rushing, 1 passing. And give Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator, credit. We said this last year that they dumped Ken Dorsey. The Bills had a balanced attack. They actually involved the running game a little bit more. Sean McDermott, thank you very much. And they did that last night. And with the defense playing out of his mind, they won the ball game. So that's the formula for Buffalo going forward. Now, on the flip side for Miami, Devin Achane, he tried to get the running game going for the Dolphins, but they're so far behind. The running game was null and void. So tough times for the Dolphins right now. I don't think I even had them for the playoffs. So it was tough for Tua Tagovailoa. Hopefully, whenever he gets he'll properly healed to come back, that's when he should return. Now, I don't want to see him being rushed. This is his 3rd concussion in the last 2 years, and I know some people want to write his story to have him retire. Let him decide that, not you. You don't know what's going on in his head, no pun intended. So I just think I heard some of the clips this morning, some of these fake debate shows and these podcasts. This could be the end for him and all that. You don't know that. You don't.
Yeah, because I've seen everybody trying to play. Like, I know, look, I understand that some guys they weighed in, they've suffered from concussions. It's like Tua should just go back to Hawaii and walk off into the sunset with his family. But I think people need to kind of just let him and his doctors figure it out. I mean, you're not him. Everyone's different. Look, I know he has to think about his long-term health, but at the same time, though, I mean, it's his decision whether or not. Don't rush him back, but don't look. If he wants to retire, fine. But if he wants to come back, whether it's the end of the season or whatever, but I think people need to just leave him alone. Stop trying to play armchair, doctor or whatever. I mean, we don't really know the extent of it, so I think people need to kind of just chill. I think people need to do. It's just like people would say, "Oh, he should retire." Like, stop. Don't. No, you're not him. Please. I know. Look, I know you guys think about his long-term health, but just stop, please.
Yeah, I know that he signed the long-term contract just before the season started, but still, this is his health and his life, and he's going to do what's best for him. That's what he should do. Do what's best for him and his family, not for anybody else.
Yeah, so we'll keep you guys updated on that. Also too, of course, with all the other stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the. Could we see a Ryan Tannehill return to Miami? We'll see. We'll see in a few days. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that. As Miami, yeah, things are kind of getting crazy down there now. Let's talk about the rest of these matches before we do our picks. We got Christine's pick. I got him right. We got him right here. So we'll be able to get to that. But yeah, what other matchups are you looking forward to this Sunday and Monday?
Cleveland and Jacksonville. Of course, I was listening to some Cleveland sports radio for the last couple of days, and most of their fan base wanted Deshaun Watson out. I don't think they're going to get their wish, at least not right now. Of course, I know you talked about it on the show last Monday. Excuse me. Their offense looked terrible against the Dallas Cowboys. Jacksonville, they blew a 17-point lead and lost at the buzzer to Miami. I think Jacksonville is due for a big game. Look for Travis Etienne to run the ball hard for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I expect Trevor Lawrence to play much better. I expect the defense to step up too. If they I'm talking about Jacksonville, if they cannot get this game against Cleveland, that home opener, you don't deserve to be in the National Football League. So I'm looking forward to that game. Also, another sneaky game. This game should have been airing in Chicago, but the NFL wants to pull this college football regional coverage BS by airing the Indianapolis Colts in the Green Bay Packers game here in Chicago on Fox. But yours truly is going to do a good protest by watching this game via this computer screen. And it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Detroit Lions, a rematch of last year's NFC Divisional Playoff. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Should be a really good one, and I was hoping we would get that matchup, but I'll be watching this game also on my various devices, and yeah, I mean, it'll probably be a better game than the other one. I mean, look, no shade to the Colts, but I think the Packers. We'll see how Malik Willis does, because he's gonna have the keys for a couple of weeks until Jordan Love can come come back. So that should be a nice little matchup there. The battle of the the young QBs, but the Tampa Lions. I know Tampa really feels like they should have won that divisional game. So they got the revenge on their mind. Baker Mayfield looked really good last week. So Detroit, look, they didn't look great, but look, they did just enough to win that game on Monday. So yeah, that should be a fun. Well, not Monday, but Sunday night, I should say. That should be a fun matchup there. Ravens should have bounced back pretty easily against the Raiders. They've had 10 days to think about toes, so I'm sure they're gonna want to do that. But the 49ers Vikings, that's gonna be a CBS. I think this is gonna be on CBS here in Chicago. That should be the tricky match. That should be the tricky matchup. I mean, you got the 49ers going cross country. Sam Darnold looked really good. Of course, they're off a short week for the 49ers. That should be a fun matchup coming up as well. Seattle and the Patriots. That should be an intriguing matchup too. Actually, that's about Steelers and Broncos. I mean, I think our buddy Spiro Diaz will have this game on CBS. So. Broncos and Steelers. I mean that's
excuse me.
yeah. I mean it's good. It should be interesting. I think, but Steelers and the Broncos actually looked. Bo Nix looked like a rookie. So we'll see if they can bounce back there. Cincinnati and the Chiefs. I mean, we know we saw Jamar Chase. I guess he was talking some smack. I guess saying that they're the best team in the AFC. Okay. All right. You know what?
Yeah, and you lost to New England last week. Oh boy.
Well, also too, a big loss for the Chiefs. So Hollywood Browns looks like he's going to be gone for a bit because I guess that shoulder injury, the AC joint isn't healing fast enough, so he's going to have surgery. He's going to miss at least halfway through the season. So that's a big loss for them. They haven't had to really need him, but you got to think, as we get closer and get into the season, you got to think that's going to be interesting. But yeah, that Bengals-Chiefs matchup. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see how well we talk about Joe Burrow. He didn't have a good game last week. Neither did the whole team. But Joe Burrow has won, I believe, 2 out of his 3 games there in Kansas City. I know they missed running back Joe Mixon a lot. I know they have Chase Brown from University of Illinois there. He's in his second year, I believe, there in that backfield for the Bengals. But I want to see how well they can commit to the run. I'm talking about Cincinnati. You need to keep that Kansas City Chiefs defense on his heels, which they are very good. Patrick Mahomes looked great a couple of weeks ago in that Thursday night opener against Baltimore. So Cincinnati's defense has had his number throughout the last couple of years. But I want to see what Cincinnati does on offense, especially in the running game department.
All right, so we're going to take a really quick break. We're going to have, of course, our Week 2 NFL picks. Hopefully, he'll have a better week than he had last week.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I saw, we saw some of your picks. You were like, really? Okay, but
a couple of those upsets were right there. They were right there, Lakina. They just didn't come through. They didn't come through. So your boy wasn't crazy. We'll see about that. But of course, we're gonna have some time to talk some WNBA, of course, as the Sky have a big matchup, of course, there with our Angel Reese, and also too the new Chicago Sports Network is taking shape, with some honor talent, some familiar names, not too balls out there. So we'll talk about that. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. NFL pick Week 2 picks and more coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the hashtag Football Friday, aka Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid Deslakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG as SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You follow my Katie McGee on the Twitter, X and Kills again the IG.
This is our last regular show for today and for the week. So you have any last minute questions or comments for us as we head into our week 2 NFL picks, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, great start for our girl, Christine McIntyre. Of course, she's out today. And me, your lady here too, your girl here, Lakina, as well. We both had 10. Unfortunately, our buddy Sid here, not so much. He only had 8. So,
it's not how you start; it's how you finish.
Well, that's what they say. So we'll see. But we'll see. But yeah, we're up to right now. We're up to right now. Of course, still early. Look, it's early in the year. So we still the season's still young. So that's not a bad thing. So let's get to it here. We got the Las Vegas Raiders. They go across country to play a noon game against a very Baltimore Ravens team that's probably not going to be in a good mood after letting a chance to win against the Chiefs slip away. So Sid, you start this one.
I like Antonio Pierce. I like him a lot. I don't like their offense. It looked like crap last week at the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, as we call them on this show. As you mentioned, Baltimore, they could have forced overtime. It wasn't for a toll, but this is Baltimore's home opener. They're going to be in a foul mood. They're favored by 9 points even, and I think they're going to give the Raiders a taste of their own medicine. I got Baltimore's defense, and I got Blake Lively, the backup tight end. Both of those factors on my fantasy team. They're going to run it up, as the kids would say. They'll run it up big. I'm going with Baltimore at home.
I think they would have went for 2 had that TD had counted, because if you saw, John Harbaugh had 2 fingers up, so I think they were going to go for 2 for that one there. And of course, thanks to Isaiah Likely's toe, I'm sure he's had time.
Blake, forgive me.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I'm sure they're probably cousins. I'm sure they're cousins. I'm sure. But, they're probably cousins. Look, get Dr. Gates on the phone. You never know. You never know. But I mean. But yeah, I mean, look, I think Lamar Jackson's gonna have a big game. Flowers, likely, Andrews is gonna have a big game. That defense is probably gonna be pissed as hell. So I feel bad for Gardner Minshew. So I think Baltimore, and whatever the point is, I would say take the over. And
Baltimore by 9.
Yeah, I would say take the over because they've had 10 days to think about this. So I'm picking Baltimore, and our girl Christine agrees. She also picks Baltimore. So. Should be a bounce backer for the Ravens here. Now, speaking of the Chargers also go cross country. A lot of these West Coast teams going cross country and playing new games this week. You got the Chargers and the Panthers. Chargers was a nice with a really nice win last week against Denver, and I'm gonna ride that wave. I'm gonna pick the Chargers because I think Carolina. I don't want to. I don't want to close a book on Bryce Young, but that whole franchise is a mess. And not the good kind of mess, nice little fun mess, but they're just a mess in general. So I'm picking the Chargers, and it might be. I don't want to say it's a blowout because they're playing, a noon game, but it might be a blowout. So don't be surprised. So I'm picking the Chargers.
I think that the Panthers will play a whole lot better. The Chargers are favored by 5 points on the road. I think Carolina will play better, but the way that Harbaugh wants his team to play, I know Justin Herbert threw for over, I think, 145 yards last week. I think that passing total is going to go up a little bit more because that secondary for the Panthers is terrible. So I know the Saints put up almost 50 points on the last week. I don't think the Chargers will do the same thing, but I think the Chargers can put up close to 30 points on the Panthers. So I'm going with the Chargers for this one.
And our girl Christine agrees. She's also picking the Chargers. So could be another long year down there in Charlotte, but we'll see. Next up on the docket, you've got the Saints and the Cowboys. Both 1-0. Of course, as Sid just said, the Saints just hammer the Panthers. They're not playing the Panthers, obviously. I ask you about how Tom Brady did his first. I don't know if you were able to see his first game, but they're going to be playing he's going to be calling this game too with Kevin Burkhardt and Aaron Andrews and Tom Rinaldi for Fox. The Cowboys, I think it's going to be close, but I think the Cowboys should be able to pull away. I mean, if Dak can be Dak and Zeke can be Zeke, we'll see if Michael Parsons, that defense can be really good against that offense and the Saints. It'll be close, but I think Dallas pulls away late.
I think that the Cowboys defense will pull out a turnover or 2 late, and I think it's going to come down to the running games for the running game for both of these teams. Dallas is favored by 6. I think they could put up close to 30 points against the Saints defense. I like the Saints defense over the last couple of years, but age is starting to catch up to them. You're not playing the Panthers this week, guys. You're going down there to Big D, so I think they're in for a wake-up call. I think it's going to be kind of a close game, but Dallas will pull away at the end. So I'm going with the Cowboys for this one for their home opener.
And our girl Christine agrees. She also has Dallas. So far we're all agreeing. This is I don't know if that's good or bad, but
scary.
It's scary. So next up here, I will be watching this game, as I said a few minutes ago, via this computer screen. You got the Bucks and the Lions.
Me too. The Detroit Lions will be favored by 7.5 points. You saw what they did in overtime last week against the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football. Tampa Bay took care of Washington in their home opener last week. Of course, as I said before, this is a rematch of last year's NFC divisional playoff. Yes, Baker Mayfield passed for over 300 yards last year against that bad Detroit secondary, but the Lions are a little bit different this year. Tampa, they really did need their running game last week. They're going to need it this week, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to compete against this new version of the Detroit Lions. So I'm going in the Lions. I think Tampa will maybe backdoor cover. I know that's not the pick, but I think this is going to be a surprisingly close game. But I think the Lions will pull out this one at home.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think Tampa will stay in it. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think, especially after what happened with the Lions last week. I just don't see it. So Tampa will actually look really good, and I think Baker Mayfield needs to kind of limit the turnovers. And I would say take the under, but we're not picking the over unders. But I'm also picking Detroit, and but it should be a close one though. And our girl Christine agrees. She also has Detroit, so. Should be an interesting one up there in the Motor City. All right, so this is a game what we're going to get, unfortunately, on the first Fox game during regional back in the day. Remember back in the day, sitting on ABC, we always got the sticky Big Ten games. Good Lord.
Yes, it was usually following the Illini.
Oh yeah, or
Johnny
Penn
Johnson,
State.
Anybody?
Oh God, now we're going on the way back machine with that. But yeah, this is the game we're gonna get here in Chicago for Fox. Unfortunately, we got the Colts and the Packers. The Packers.
I ain't watching.
The Packers. Unfortunately, Malik Willis will be the starter there. Of course, we know Jordan Love's going to be out for a few weeks. The Colts, kind of had a couple of chances to win that game. The only reason why it was even close for that was because of those long TD throws by Mr. Anthony Richardson. It might be ugly. It might be one of those 9-6 type of deals, as I usually put out there every once in a while with some of these games. But and our girl Christine also, she has Indy, so I guess I'm gonna pick Indy too, and it could be an upset, but who knows? I guess only because it's not in Lambeau, but it's weather won't be a factor because it's actually gonna be pretty decent down there, up there in Green Bay. So I'm picking Indianapolis, and so is Christine. She also has Indy.
Yeah, I believe this is Green Bay's home opener, correct?
Yep.
That's right, it is because they played in Brazil last week. They played in Brazil. So this is Green Bay's home opener. The Colts are favored by 3. Sid's going to be stupid and going on the other side. I'm going with Green Bay. I don't know about you, Lakina, but something tells me that the Packers defense, which is not that bad.
No.
They're going to force a key turnover on Anthony Richardson, and they're going to kick a game winner. I get those kind of strange vibes. So for this Packers whole opener, that's what I'm getting right now. And so I'm picking the Packers in the upset. I don't want to say it, but I got to go with the logic side of my brain.
Well, yeah, I don't think it would be a big surprise if it had to be the case. I don't think either of them winning would be a big shocker. So, but I'm hoping for at least a decent game. Like I said, 9-6, 10-7 is probably going to be those kinds of games. So, we'll see here. Next up, you got the Browns and the Jags. And I know the Jags are probably smart, especially after what happened last night. Buffalo against Miami. They had their chances to perhaps pull that off against Miami. They didn't do it, so I'm picking Jacksonville. And that offense for the Browns, yikes! And it looks like Myles Garrett isn't gonna play. Even bigger yikes. So because he didn't practice all week. So bigger yikes there. And I'm picking Jacksonville. And this should be able to pull this out. And of course, our girl Christine Mecca is the same thing. Of course, y'all know. If you guys watched, you know the reasons why she doesn't pick Cleveland. But this case, again, go back and watch the tapes, as they say. But yeah, she's also picking Jacksonville.
I'll hop on that Jacksonville bandwagon as well. Jacksonville's favored by 3 points at home for their home opener.
Yep. So so they should be able to pull this out. We'll see about that now. This is Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. We're doing our NFL Week 2 picks. So we're about halfway through here. Let's see. 49ers and the Vikings, probably one of the more intriguing matchups coming up. So Sid, you start this one.
Minnesota, they were fortunate to get that win at the Giants last week, even though the Giants played like shit. Excuse my French. But Sam Darnold had a good game. The defense had a good game. But I know this is their home opener, but they're going to face a much battle-tested, much better San Francisco team. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is going to play out or not. If he doesn't play, look out for Jordan Mason. He ran for over 100 yards last week, and he scored a touchdown in their victory over the Jets in their home opener last Monday night. San Francisco has a better defense, and Brock Purdy, you expect for him to have a better game on the road than he did at home last week. So San Francisco's favored by 5 on the road. I'm going with San Francisco in the close one.
I love Addison's comments after that Monday nighter against the Jets. He was like, "Hey, oh goody, I get to go out there." So, but he actually had a nice showing. And I know the Minnesota defense is actually pretty good, but yeah, you're kind of stepping up in class here playing against the 49ers. And I know it's going to be a short week. I know they're going to be traveling cross country, but excuse me. So they really shouldn't have any problems with Minnesota. I think Minnesota keeps it close for that reason, but I think San Francisco does just have to pull away late. And so does Christine, she agrees. She also has San Fran. So, but it should be an entertaining matchup. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout. At least I don't think. All right, you've got the Patriots and the Seahawks. Yeah, Seahawks and Patriots, I should say. Again, another case where the West Coast team goes cross country and plays the noon game. It should be this is a pretty even matchup, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a pick 'em here. So. Excuse me, but I guess I'll pick the Patriots because they're at home, but it wouldn't surprise me if Seattle pulls it out because they pulled it off last week. So, hey, why not? You still got Geno Smith, you still got Kenneth Walker III, you still got Metcalf. That Seattle defense is pretty decent. Brissett's looked solid. The defense has looked solid too for the Pats. But yeah, I think the only reason I guess I'm picking them is because they're on the road. They're at home.
You mentioned this is a toss-up game. I'm surprised Seattle's favored by 3.5. So the folks in the boys in Vegas baiting you to bet the Patriots at least in a point spread, by the way. But I just on paper, it won't surprise me if New England won. You saw what they did last week, despite having limited success on offense. Seattle's the better team. I'm just going with logic here. I'm picking the Hawks on the road.
And Christine feels the same way. She's also picking Seattle. So, but yeah, I probably lost that one. So I'm already prepared for that one mentally. So yeah, but yeah, it is definitely a pick 'em. So we'll see what happens with that. Next up, you got the Jets and the Titans. Both teams coming off of tough losses.
Of course, the New York Jets looked like crap on Monday night. Aaron Rodgers didn't have a great game. I expect running back Breece Hall, who's on my fantasy team. I know no one cares, but I don't care about your feelings. But I need Breece Hall to have a big game for me. Hopefully, the New York Jets will establish the run early. You saw what Tennessee did here in Chicago last week. They gave that game away. I don't care what anybody says, but I think it's going to be an ugly, close game. The Jets are favored by 3.5. The Jets are overall a better team to have a better defense than Tennessee. I expect the Jets to play much better. As I said, go out on the road for the second straight week. I'm going with New York.
I'm also going with the Jets too, because like you said, Sid. I mean, I know that they're still, probably really from that loss to San Fran. They should be able to take care of the Titans. Will Levis, like I said, I said the same thing. I mean, I know people Bears fans don't want to hear it, but he gave that game away. Literally, he did. He really did. I want to have that conversation, but he did. So, yeah, I think they should be okay. I know. Coming off a short week and traveling, but I know they went back to New York and they're going back on the road down to Nashville. But yeah, I think the Jets should win this game. I know Hall should have a nice showing. Aaron Rodgers, look, he's 40, so but he still throws a ball pretty well. So yeah, I'm picking the Jets as well. And again, it could be another one of those early ugly games. So we'll see what happens with that. And Christine agrees. She also yeah, so we'll see if that's going to get a little bit interesting down there in Nashville. Okay, last of the new matchups, NFC East style. You got the Giants and the Commanders, both coming off. Well, we'll say the Giants just got their butts kicked by Minnesota. Washington, I mean, you can tell there was some growing pains there with Jaden Daniels under center, but they actually looked okay against Tampa. They just ran into a really good Tampa squad. I think they will do just enough to win this game, just because I think the Giants stink. I'm sorry, like I know our buddy Ryan Field from ABC 7 New York is probably gonna get after me for it, but I'm picking Washington. I'm picking the Commanders.
I'm picking the Commanders too. This is their home opener. They're favored by 1.5, which means it's at a pick 'em. I think the Giants will play much better. many points do they score on offense. Is if they score more than 6.5 a shot.
Oh, yes, that's true.
We'll see how Daniel Jones bounces back. Will they use Devin Singletary, their new running back, as the featured setup man? We'll see about that. But you mentioned Jaden Daniels, even though he did score 2 rushing touchdowns, he's still going to go through some growing pains. But I expect that Washington Commanders defense to get after Daniel Jones. I think it's going to be a surprising close game. But I'm picking Washington to win their whole opener.
And Christina Gree, she also has Washington as well. Now, first of the 3 o'clock games, you got the Rams and the Cardinals in the NFC West. You start this one, Sid.
I'll definitely be watching this one via my computer screen. That's at 3:05 p.m. on Fox. The Rams, as we talked about, they lost their road opener last week at Detroit. Arizona, I did pick them in an upset, but yours surely came up short. So did they. Congrats to DJ Dallas for scoring the first touchdown with the new NFL kickoff rules. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair, and if that's the case, I'm going with the Rams. The Rams, as I mentioned, lost a tough one last week. They had their chances to perhaps win the game in regulation at Detroit, but I think they'll learn their lesson, and I think they'll win this one. Watch out for Marvin Harrison Jr. On the flip side for Arizona, their rookie wide receiver out of Ohio State. We'll see if he can bust out here in Arizona's home opener. Arizona's favored by 1 at home.
Yeah, so it's definitely a pick 'em here, and yeah, I mean, like Arizona kept it close against them last year, those their 2 meetings. So, and of course, no Puka Nakua. So, that's going to be a nice. That's going to not nice, but that's going to be a big loss for the Rams. But I think, like I said, I think this will be a close one. But I think this should be probably one of the more entertaining games. I feel like because remember, Cardinals kept it close against Buffalo. They kept it close against a lot of teams last year. Probably could have won more games if certain things that they were a little bit talented. And they didn't give the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. very much. So I'm thinking that maybe they'll perhaps get a chance. Perhaps she'll give us a little bit more on Sunday. And I think the Rams should be back and forth. But I think the Rams will do just enough to win. I think it'll be close, but I think the Rams will win it. And Christina Gree, she also has the Rams. So that should be probably the more entertaining games coming up here now. We're like I said, our buddy Sparrow Diaz will have this game for CBS. It'll be the Steelers against the Broncos. Are the Steelers better than we thought they are? I don't know.
No.
I mean, look, they didn't score a touchdown last week, and look, Justin Fields. I mean, he didn't stink, so I guess that's a consolation there. But Bo Nix, he'll show some growing pains last week against the Chargers, but. This should be an interesting matchup, but I guess I guess I'll pick Denver. I might be wrong here, but I'll pick Denver. I picked Denver, and so as Chrissy why she's picking Denver, but yeah, I'll pick Denver because I don't know. I don't know what to think about Pittsburgh. I don't know what to think about them.
Yeah, I know Russell Wilson. This was supposed to be his revenge tour game. Looks like that may not happen. So Fields, good luck to you, my man. I'm with you, Lakina. I don't know either. Pittsburgh's favored by 2.5 for those of you scoring at home as of this live broadcast, but call me crazy. I'm going with Denver.
Boy, this should watch Fields throw for like 3 or 4 touchdowns or something, something like that. Because I could see that happening because we all picked Denver, but we'll see. Probably yeah. So we got Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wilson will be back at Arrowhead for this matchup. The Bengals and the Chiefs. I know the last 2 times the Bengals have played the Chiefs, they've won. But again, I see T is going to be out with that hamstring injury, so he's doubtful. If that is the case, that's a big loss. Hollywood Brown, of course, like I said earlier, he's going to be done for a while with that shoulder surgery. They were a toe away, perhaps maybe losing that game against Baltimore. Probably should have lost that game against Baltimore. I had that nuts. So I'm picking Kansas City. It'll be a close one, but I think I am going to pick Kansas City.
Excuse me. I'm going with Kansas City as well. They're favored by 6 points at home. Watch out for rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy out of Texas. You saw what he did last week. his first official touch in the NFL, he scores a touchdown. I expected to have another big game too. Watch out for their running back. Talking about the Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco. I have him on my fantasy team this year, so hopefully he can run it up for your boy.
And Christine also has Kansas City, so watch Joe Burrow throw for like 3 touchdowns and end up winning. He's end up winning down there again. So we've seen some weird things happen down there at Arrowhead when these two teams play the last couple of years. But we shall see. And of course, before next to last penultimate game on Monday night, there will be a Manning cast for this one, folks. So yeah, ESPN2.
Yay!
Yeah, ESPN and ESPN Deportes. We got the Battle of the Birds. You got the Falcons and the Eagles. So, Sid, you start this one.
Oh, of course, Atlanta looked like crap last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers in their home opener, even though Kirk Cousins threw the only touchdown pass in the game to freak out Pitts. But he played like Trail Dilfer, throwing 2 interceptions, and there goes the dynamite for the Falcons. Philadelphia, they won their home opener last week, even though it was in Brazil against the Packers. Jalen Hurts, I have on my fantasy team this year. Those 2 interceptions were silly. Hopefully he can cut down on the turnovers, and hopefully Philadelphia's defense can get back on track. You're playing a lesser opponent on paper in Atlanta. This is Philadelphia's true home opener this coming Monday night, so I expect Philadelphia to blow out the Falcons. So Jalen Hurts in the Eagles defense must play better. I think they will. I got the Eagles in a blowout. The Eagles are favored by 6.5.
Yeah, the folks that are going to be rocking down there, like you said. So this is going to be their actual home opener, of course, since they lost the whole game, because in Brazil. But yeah, I think Philadelphia should be able to pull it out. I think that they've kind of had that sort of that matchup here. I know Jalen Hurts was not very happy after that win because he knows he could play better. So does that whole entire Eagles team, really. So in Atlanta, I don't know what to think about Atlanta. I mean, after I know people, they were like the trendy team, to pick to make a big step up. So far, it hasn't been the case. Kyle Pitts, also too, Kirk Cousins looked like Kirk Cousins, exactly like Kirk Cousins. We've seen the last few years, and yeah, just that defense, it's making me a little bit anxious. So yeah, I'll pick Philadelphia, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a blowout. We might see a blowout on a Monday night. So we'll see what happens there. Now, last but not least, and of course, Christine also has Philadelphia. I forgot to mention that. But last but not least, of course, Sunday night between Houston and the Bears down in Houston. We talked about our buddy Will Kunkel from Fox 26 earlier, and it really, like I said, it's really going to depend on who sets the tone. I think you can't afford to have that that slow start against the Texans. You can't, because they will make you pay. Will Anderson and Mario Edwards Jr. I mean, those guys. Will Anderson was a Pro Bowler, so there's a reason why and it was Defensive Player of the Year on the rookie side. So I really think that he's going to be mincemeat out of that O line. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Like I said, those last 7 times the Bears are playing on Sunday nights, they've been blown out. Those last 7 losses. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think they're going to be outclassed. It's going to be close, but I think Texas do just enough they do kind of like what they did against the Colts last week. I think they're going to do just enough to pull away late and make some plays when they need to. So I'll pick it won't be a blowout, but I'm picking the Texans.
Houston's favored by 6.5 points at home for their home opener under the lights. I'm with you, Lakina, but I think it's going to be a much lower score game, like a 17-13, 20-13, 20-10, 23-10, somewhere around that range. And I expect Houston's defense to step up and take the ball away late. So that's my script. I have Houston win this ball game.
And Christine agrees. She also has Houston. So, Texans. But yeah, like you said, so I think it's going to be because I was actually close last week. I think I had 20. It was sure enough, it was like 23-17 or something like that. I would say Houston 24-17 or 24-10 or something like that. Houston wins, but we'll see. It should be something around that because I don't think it's gonna be 45-10 or anything. I don't think it's gonna be that big of a blow. At least I hope not. But it should be a fun matchup though, nonetheless. But yeah, and those are your picks for the NFL week 2, actually, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Lakeem McGee, Sidney Brown with you. We got a few more minutes left, Sid. Real quick with the WNBA. Angel Reese is done for the year, unfortunately, with the wrist injury. Do you think the Sky can perhaps maybe get a clinch a playoff spot without her?
I hope I'm wrong, but the answer is no.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just think that it's going to be. I know they got Kennedy Carter back, which is great. They needed her back, but yeah, I think it's going to be too much for them. And looking at the standings real quick, I think they're still up 1 against Atlanta. They have a tough matchup. Talking about the Sky coming up. I believe. Let's see. I think tonight. Yeah, tonight on Ion against the Minnesota Lynx, who are one of the top teams in the league, and they do face Atlanta coming up next week. So this could be, these last couple of games could be such a total whether or not they're going to make the playoffs. Talk about the Sky, and no Angel Reese is going to be very tough. So we'll see. But yeah, they've got 4 games left. So we'll see how they do these last 4 games. They lost someone against the Mystics, but yeah, we'll just see what happens.
Real quick with the WNBA, I did get a chance to watch the first half the other night, courtesy of NBA TV. The Indiana Fever Las Vegas Aces game. I know that Asia Boston is supposed to be the Robin to Caitlin Clark's Batman, but you need a third or fourth scorer on the Indiana Fever. Of course, the Fever shot 32% in that first half. They only had 32 points in that first half. I know they lost the game to the Vegas Aces, but looking at the Vegas Aces on the other flip side, I think we said this early in the year. I think it's Las Vegas WNBA title to lose. They was just a much better team.
Yeah, I think because now they got everybody starting to play a little bit better. Everybody's coming back, so I think that should definitely help them. I think they don't mind kind of like being the underdog. I think they prefer it that way. I think Becky Hammond and her girls, I should say they're grown women, but I think they prefer it that way. So yeah, I think if they probably prefer kind of like singing up on people. So I think they should really be interesting to see what happens there. Now, some updates here of the Bears. Both Keenan Allen and Roma Duse did not practice, and they're both doubtful for Sunday. It looks like so. Yeah, so
there may be a game time decision on both of them. So I would not be surprised if both of them do not play. If that's the case, I think Valence Jones, you may see him a little bit more out on that field. As I said before, and I'll say it again, do not put him on kickoff returns. He's lost his job as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, I'm surprised they even put him back there, but I digress. But yeah, that's a interesting matchup. I didn't see anything about Dalton Schultz, so we'll probably get an update from that until probably after we get off. But real quick, some a little bit of sports media news here before we disperse. The new network that will be launched, the new Chicago Sports Network that will be launching at the beginning of next month, the Chicago Sports Network have announced some of their talent. On the Blackhawks, the pre and post, of course, you got Pat Boyle, Tony Granado. Hopefully, he's doing better, and Kaylee Chelios. Also, for the Bulls side, you got Casey Johnson, Kendall Gill, and Jason Goff. So for the most part, keeping it, sort of a buck, keeping it kind of the same. And I think, as Jeff Agris, I think said it on his site, and I think he's going to be doing going to be doing a segment with our buddies with CHGO Blackhawks. He said that look, the teams hire the talent, not the network. So I know some people are looking at this like, why don't they have the Blackhawks teams on there? I'm sure you're going to see appearances from them, and they showed some of the sets. They look kind of weird, but yeah. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, like you said, the teams hired the announcers, the play-by-play voice and the color analysts, but the analysts and the TV hosts are hired by the network. So congratulations to Jason Goff. It's not surprising, but it was pretty much expected. So he's going to keep on working here in this market. I think you can say goodbye to him as far as having a chance of doing 670 to score afternoons. I know a lot of people wanted him to do that, but it looks like that's out of the question now. And of course, a friend of the show, Pat Boyle, of course, that was announced a few weeks before that he's going to continue his role as a pre- and post-game host for the Blackhawks. So good job for that. I just want to see if this new network will do the right thing. I know they'll have a little bit more time, but will they do the right thing is bringing Chuck and Ozzy over to do White Sox pre and post for next year? They should, but we all know that in this business, strangest things have happened. But I'm interested for those of you that's watching us live. Hop on to CSGO Sports here on YouTube. And as you mentioned, Lakina, Jeff Agres for the Chicago Sun-Times will be on that program with our guys from CSGO Blackhawks to talk about how the Blackhawks will cover the preseason, because none of their games as of right now will be aired on local television, because the new network will have, I think, the last preseason game, and then of course the regular season will start a week later. So he's going to be on there. For those of you watching us live here on YouTube, that's at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time today on CHGO Sports on YouTube. And for those of you watching us on replay, if you missed it, you can go back to CHGO Sports and watch it there on the replay. But it's I want to be interested to see how this new network will form. And was regarding the Blackhawks, with these first three preseason games we've seen, that will be seen on their YouTube channel, on their website. What? Because you cannot put them on NBC Sports Chicago. They'll be shutting down in a couple of weeks.
And also, too, Jeff also confirmed yesterday that one of the first big carriers looks like they're close to an agreement with DirecTV. So it looks like, not all, it's all but official there. But what about Xfinity? What about people like me who have YouTube TV or
I got Xfinity, so we're waiting.
Yeah, Xfinity TV. So yes, like I said, you got Xfinity and you got like Sling TV, YouTube TV, like I have, and all the others. So you've got 2 weeks. So hopefully they can get it going, because you don't want to lose that audience, because it's bad if Blackhawks fans are gonna lose. Not gonna be able to watch the last 3 preseason games because they're gonna be in transition. So I think we need to kind of find out like what's the deal here. But hopefully we can figure this out, because October 1st is coming up very quick.
Yeah, and as we said before, Xfinity/Comcast is the biggest cable provider in the Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. So you don't want to do like Marquee did, debut your network everywhere else except for Chicago. Which, remember, it was not on Xfinity until the day one of that 2020 MLB COVID season. So if this new network, the Chicago Sports Network, can do right by Xfinity/Comcast, that'll be great.
Yeah, let's hopefully, we'll have an answer for this within the next few weeks. And we know things move pretty quick. So look, hopefully they can kind of figure it out. So they're gonna have to try to get it going here, but we'll see what happens, how they set it up with that. Now, anything else before we disperse? I know you got a lot to say with you missed out these last week and a half.
Oh yes, Tom Brady in his broadcasting debut last week. He's going to get better. I'm sure he didn't want to step on any toes. And remember, this is his first time doing it, folks. And I think he's going to get better. Of course, he knows the game, and he's going to have a little bit of a personality. And don't forget, Bears fans, he's going to be calling the Bears-Rams game in a couple of weeks when the Rams come here to Chicago. So this will be your first taste of watching him from first through fourth quarter. If you didn't watch the game last week against Dallas, I know that was a blowout there. But I think Tom Brady's going to get better. I know people want to trash him because of what he did in his career, but I think he's going to get better going forward. So I'm not too much worried about Tom Brady. So that's on Tom Brady. Another special announcement, of course, is tomorrow, Saturday, September 14th. This is the last Whiskey at Comiskey in Lobby at Sox Park, brought to you by the guys and gals at Section 108, and of course the Chicago Sports Bums. Of course, lots of bourbon, lots of drinks, lots of food. As we say goodbye to the 2024 Chicago White Sox, says they make history on the field. We're going to make history on our own. So any and everybody you follow on White Sox Twitter is going to be there. Yours truly going to be there. This will be my last game attended at Sox Park for this 2024 season. We don't have to get into what the hell's been going on the field, but it's been all about the fans all season long. So we're going to be there tomorrow, starting at 3 o'clock at La B at Sox Park. Please come join us. Bring your stomachs, bring your good vibes, and we'll say goodbye to this shitty-ass 2024 season for the White Sox.
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, maybe they'll get a win, I guess. But we'll see.
Maybe. We hoping. Maybe.
yeah, they'll say, yeah, but look, drink responsibly, folks. I know it's going to be it should be really nice. We all do the bourbon thing. So yeah, it should be a fun night, for all this weekend. But yeah, I know that the season can't finish quick enough for the White Sox. So we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, of course you got me. Like you got like a lot of soccer's back for this weekend in the Premier League and the other European leagues as well. Yeah, but what about the U.S. Open? How'd you like the winners there, Yannick Sinner and Ariana Sabalenka?
Congratulations to both those winners. I know I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. I saw the clips. I think Tiafoe, the brother that he almost made it to the final, but he didn't. But hopefully hopefully he can stick with it. And I think it won't be too long before he reaches a final within the next couple of years, maybe even next year.
Yeah, just a Paluga one now. It's nice showing from her as well. Remember, like I said, she was on the brink of retiring. So I know she's now one of the top players. I know it's going to be a matter of time for her. And hopefully Coco Gauff can kind of figure things out because, yeah.
I was just getting ready to say that, because she had an early exit.
Yeah, Navarro, Emma Navarro beat her again. You got to think it's going to be a matter of time for her. So I think it's a matter of time for a lot of these American players. The talent is there. Just got to get over the hump. So I think that I think one of them will win. Coco's already got a Grand Slam. She won the U.S. Open last year, but I think one of them will win a Grand Slam for the next year or two. I think on either side. All right. With that said, you can find my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X and on the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app, wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are located on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. So, if you're watching baseball on Sunday, of course you can catch while you're on the Roku TV app, just go type in Sports Zone Chicago on the search bar. You can catch replays of our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cousins, so much more. So you can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV.
And we will provide.
And of course, we want to thank our new friend from Fox 26 Houston, Will Kunkel, for joining us today in the golf course. Hopefully, had a good round today. Hopefully, brought a little bit of luck with the round wise. But yeah, great to talk to him. And of course, like we said, definitely going to talk more with him once we got more time with him. But yeah, he was great.
Yes, and Lakina, real quickly, thank you for holding it down for the last 3 shows. And while I was away, I kind of explained it a little bit at the top of the show. I was away for jury duty service. For those of you that have jury duty notices that have been sent to you, please take them seriously. It's the next closest thing to, of course, serving in our military. So if you have jury duty service notices in your mailbox, please take them seriously. Go do it. You won't be sorry. So, Lakina, thank you for holding it down for the last few shows. I know doing solo shows is not easy. Of course, I filled in for you doing long segments over the last couple of years. It's not easy, but if you love what you do and you're prepared, you'll be just fine. So I just want to say to you, thank you for holding it down these last few shows.
Let's just say I don't like doing solo shows. I just found out why the last couple of weeks, but you do what you can.
I know it's not easy.
No, I would say, look, our buddy Hoodie, he can do a solo show for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But he's one of the.
It's a skill, folks. It's a skill. Yeah, it is definitely a skill.
Gotta have the skill, and I don't have the skill. So, but yeah, look, we had Christine was there. We had Nick King from the CBS affiliate in Arizona talking some West Coast NFL, NFC West, and of course Arizona sports as well. So it was fun. It was fine. But glad to have you back.
Don't blame me. Blame Cook County in the state of Illinois. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. So, all right,
it's the law.
Great to have you back, Sid. But even still, look, enjoy all the sports, everybody. And I know it's gonna be a little bit warmer, so just be good to each other. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
I'm back. Holla.
Oh, brother.